Well, welcome everybody. Friday afternoon. Darren Saul here, your host of Playing with Perspective, the Suspended Animation Podcast. And I am super excited because it's my first threesome. I have I have two lovely guests. One of them is more lovely than the other. We have Angela B. Chan and Dave Bell here. How you doing, guys?
Pretty good, thanks.
Awesome. And we're going to be chatting about the wonderful world of the hackathon. So this is something that is very, very new to me. And I just had a good chat with both of them not long ago. So I'm really excited to get into this content, learn more about what a hackathon is, what hackathons can do, and all the fascinating things that they're doing in the world of the hackathon. But before we do that, I thought I'd just give everybody a little insight into who Angela and Dave are. So Angela is an innovation hacker, having participated, mentored, judged, and supported almost 500 hackathons in the past decade. She's keen on changing the hackathon conversation from purely being IT-centric to one that is truly accessible for everyone that empowers change. Dave is an innovation lead that gets a buzz out of bringing people together to solve challenges. He runs lab projects, organizes company-wide hackathons, and enjoys building communities. A self-professed space geek, he looks forward to what the future holds. So again, guys, thank you so much for being on the show and welcome. Now,
Thanks for having us.
Sound okay, guys? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Fantastic. So let's jump in. I'd love to learn more about what on earth is a hackathon. So maybe Angela, can you kind of just tell us a bit about what on earth is a hackathon? Tell me all about this world of hackathoning.
Yeah, so hacking is like when we get into systems, IT systems. No, I'm joking. There's two different forms of hacking. The first hacking is the one that I think most of us will kind of associate hacking with. I know when I first heard about the word hacker, I mean, Darren, what do you think about that word?
Like when you say hacker, I think of the haka, the Kiwi duck. When you say hacker, I think of, hacking my bank details.
Yeah, that's right. So that's not, because that's kind of what we do, but not what we do. Our form of hacking is all around putting ideas to life. So we're executing, looking into problems that need to be solved, coming up with ideas, developing concepts, creating what we call MVPs or minimum viable products or working solutions that we can demonstrate and give to a paying customer. So it's really about that rapid, team formation, coming together, looking into problems worth solving, coming up with creative ideas, and then putting them into action.
That's kind of like brainstorming in a way.
Yeah, but brainstorming is just coming up with ideas. Ideas are cheap, but execution is priceless. So everyone, I can give you 10,000 ideas in 10 minutes, no problem. I can be an ideation machine. But when it actually comes to execution and bringing people together and using everyone's skills to create a tangible product that actually works, that's where the real value of hackathons are.
Right. Okay. So in other words, a hackathon is really when you go through that strategy process and you come up with all these ideas, but it's also about the execution. You actually start putting in a timeline and ideas for how to execute, those strategies. Is that right?
Yeah, but I would say with hackathons, I think it's great to put strategies together because that's like a great roadmap. Here we're developing what we call minimum viable products. So things that are actually tangible solutions, and we're creating kind of like the skeleton version of it. What we say is like a lot of people, when they come up with a idea, they go, oh, let's invest $20,000 or $50,000 in it. When in fact, we need to test out to see whether that thing is a problem to be solved, whether people will actually be paying for it, and whether that's actually feasible by the people who are in the team and in the environment. So that's where we go, okay, let's spend 2 or 3 days doing it, or 2 to 3 weeks now that we're going virtual, and then putting that prototype and delivering it.
Awesome. And so how big is a hackathon? Can it be small? Can it be big? It can be anything you want it to be, I suppose.
Yeah, Dave, do you want to answer this one?
Yeah, it really depends. I think the there's no one answer really. Like you don't have to, it's not successful just because it has thousands of people. So I think you can have anywhere where you got a small number of teams forming together up until corporate hackathons where you might get hundreds of people. And there's even some national and international global ones that probably have thousands of people. So what's in a number? It's whatever's right for that problem.
Okay, awesome. And so it's really like, it's like, say I have an idea or a product or an app or a website or a solution that I want to bring to market. This is kind of a way for me to do like a period of testing, seeing if the market's viable for it, and then coming up with some strategies on how to execute it, maybe some tweaking the idea a little bit. And then by the end of the scenario or the series, I've got a much better idea of what I can bring to the market and if it's actually going to be viable.
Yeah, I'd say that's pretty true. That's more like a startup incubator. In a hackathon, if that's the challenge, then you might do that too. But a key point that we've come across is a lot of people think that you have to have a solution already going to a hackathon.
Okay.
You actually don't necessarily need that at all. And in your experience, how many people come turning up with the actual solution ready?
I think a lot of people may have ideas or things that they're passionate about. So the core thing about hackathons is that you must work on something that you're passionate about. Otherwise, it's not really, it's kind of the fun of it. It's kind of like, oh, let's do my full-time job. But here in a hackathon scenario, where you're going out of the 9 to 5. And so we call the 9 to 5 work full-time work. So beyond the 9 to 5, we've seen this concept of creative time. Now that with, COVID-19, everyone going digital, everyone having an additional hour or two back in their day every day, that creative time is where people can experiment, look into hobbies and interests, take up painting, take up, landscaping, like what Dave has done. So using that time, some people love just creating things, and I think that's something that like I enjoy as well. Like we post this question out on Facebook, we're like, okay, community, how do you describe hackathons to your family and friends? And some of them have said it's a tech geek's night out. And I was like, oh, that's a good one. So this is what we do.
And I suppose you could now, in the last few months, you've been doing more virtual hackathons, is that right? Or only virtual hackathons?
Yeah, I mean, we've been a part of many. I would say it's quite interesting because, like, personally, I've been running Hackathons Australia for the past 6 years, and you could say any given week there would be one hackathon happening in Australia that's in person, held, collectively together. And let's just say for the past 3 months, there has been at least, 10 hackathons around the world that have run every single week. That's open to anyone around the world to participate. So it has just, the growth mechanism of hackathons has just widened. I guess for us in Australia, what I love about this is that we can tap and be more accessible to people in regional areas. And that's where I see a lot of opportunity in, especially our richness with our land, the richness of cultures that we have as well. That's where I see like so much potential and growth in.
Absolutely. I love it. What a great idea. And so Dave, I mean, what are the challenges of putting together a hackathon, and what are the absolute benefits that a hackathon can give you as opposed to other ways of maybe doing a similar type of exercise?
Yeah, sure. So if you look at it from the organizer's perspective, which was, I think, what you're asking, let's say you're trying to set up a challenge, you need to have a really good problem. So you're going to have something which someone's passionate about. It might be a business leader. It might be someone that leads a local club, or someone that leads like a not-for-profit organization, something like that. Start with the problem. Often people, they want to do something. Maybe they need to develop that problem first, I'd say. Once you get a really good problem, then the next challenge, I suppose, is how are you going to do it? So do you do it online? So now that's what we do, of course. But yeah, do you do it in person? What's the style that you're going to run it in? And also, like I would say, just making sure that you've got the right audience figured out. So like, are you going for your students? Are you going to go for your internal staff that are going to jump on board? Do you want to ask me the second question?
Yeah. And so then what are the benefits of, like, what does a hackathon give you that other things maybe similar don't quite give you?
Yeah, good question. Well, first of all, you should, of course, try to solve the problem, right?
Yep.
But I think the benefit is you build camaraderie with the people that you work on the problem with. You make a network, you make connections.
Yep.
You have fun, basically, along the way of solving that problem. And yeah, probably go on and on about benefits. And any that I missed that you want to point out?
Yeah, I think you're definitely like hit the nail in the head in terms of understanding why you're holding a hackathon and how this could be different. Like there are so many benefits from a um, I would say it all comes down, it's kind of like hackathons are a tool. They're kind of like events, right?
Yeah.
So events can be used for conferences, events can be used for workshops, events can be used for mentoring sessions or speed networking. So what is the aim of the event or the hackathon? And then where do you go from there? So we just started kind of outlining, we've got 5 different types of hackathons. So hackathons are tests. So tests, TESTS, what does it stand for?
Okay.
So T for talent. So you can look at, so a lot of people organize hackathons to recruit talent and people like students and that kind of thing. And this is what happens a lot in the US. Secondly, it's about education. So if you're trying to, as a people manager or leader, you need to educate your staff or your people around digital products or around a different process. So that's around education. Third thing is more social, like in a large organization such as Telstra or Schneider or whatever else it is. Microsoft, they're a big, it's a big company, and then they've got different business units or different businesses within the bigger company. So it's that social aspect. The next one is more tech-based. So looking into what is the most valuable platform or process. So how do we look into emerging technology to fast track growth within an organization? And the last one is startup, and this is what you alluded to with I have an idea, I want to create something out of it, let's develop that minimum viable product. So that's what the test stands for.
Tests, I like that. So loads of different benefits. And what happens if I'm just being I'm assuming here, but what happens if you have more than one problem? Do you have separate hackathons, or you can deal with a few problems in the same hackathon, like have a mini hackathons in one hackathon?
Yeah, good question. I reckon there's no set answer to that. It could be if you had several problems, you might expand, make the problem statement a bit more high level so you can have different streams. So typically you might have different streams come in to solve different problems, or you might say, look, they're kind of mutually exclusive problems. So you might separate them. It really depends on the passion that you want to follow for that event, really.
Right. Okay. Yep. Okay. Awesome. And so it sounds like that hackathons traditionally have been more IT centric. Is that right? And it's starting to change now, is it?
Yeah, I think there's a bit of you definitely need the coders, like the people that write software, but probably a bit of a myth that I would call it that anyway, is that you have to be a coder. So we've just tried to educate people that, hey, you don't have to be, you could be the hustler type. You could just be the one that loves doing the presentations or bringing the team together. You need someone to organize a team. And of course you probably need the coder too, but yeah.
But I suppose like the solution that you come up with or the strategies you come up with don't always have to be coding related, or do they? Like, can be any, it's a solution, it's some strategies, no?
Yeah, so when it comes to hackathons, I guess we have this concept called the minimum viable team. It's very similar to the minimum viable product. And you have the hustler, the hipster, and the hacker. So in the startup world, if you're really truly creating a new organization or even a new project. So we do this with a lot of corporate organizations where you have the hustler, who is the business developer, the hipster, who is the designer or the creative person, and then the hacker, the person who brings that together. So I think that it depends on the hackathon, again, like what the purpose is. Like there might be more business process oriented ones. So you might want to have some people and mold those 3 personas according to, or redefine them according to what your purpose is. But generally it is about creating a solution out of it. So if it's something about strategy, but I would say strategies are good, that's more of a strategic session. Hackathons could have an element of how do we translate this strategy into tangible products.
Gotcha. So what I think would really help the audience and me too would be maybe give us an example of maybe a hackathon that you heard of or you've just run or something, and maybe just tell us a story so we can really understand what goes on behind the scenes and what happens at the end. Like what do they come out with?
I can give a where I work, and then Ange could probably give one that she's seen come through the traps.
Great.
Yeah, so we just ran one a couple of months back at Telstra where we looked at design basically. And we asked people to come up with designs, like basically prototypes of how they'd like something to look.
Okay.
So there was not a line of code written in that one, but very much a hackathon, you know, teams forming, building a solution together, and then pitching to judges.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Ange, how about some that you've seen come through?
Yeah, so I might give two examples here. So the first one is at Schneider, we ran one where it was all around like kind of growing the business. So how do we grow the business in a sustainable and profitable way? And so one key area that we that got so one of the areas of focus or ideas that was submitted, because it was a stage process, was electric vehicles. And electric vehicles 3 years ago wasn't like a big market had been developed, but we saw that as a incoming or an upcoming kind of, everyone's gonna, batteries are getting low in prices, affordability of electric vehicles is much reasonable compared to before. And so now through this whole hackathon process, this girl Letitia, she submitted a idea that we should, Schneider Electric should play in the electric vehicle space, and now she has a job where she's the e-mobility national manager to kind of create that and make it happen and look into the space. And to be honest, after the hackathon, after 6 months, she selected a partner, created what the MVP, so this is the most valuable partner in this kind of context, was JetCharge, and she closed $2.5 million within 6 months. So here you could see that there's a commercial return on investment. She found a job for herself, a new job for herself as well. And also with this social element of actually scoping out the land, the competitive landscape, who was the best partner in this sphere and space, committing to them and developing and investing. She asked for, I think, like, it was either $10,000 or $20,000 to invest in, the EV Council, invest in JetCharge, which they use right now. And so it's all around, what are we investing in? How do we get the results? And what is that product that we're selling? So back then, Letitia was looking into what components that Schneider was offering with EV chargers and how we could grow in that space. So she was building out that solution to sell to a partner that created a return on investment.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, so there's a lot of elements that you can do out of that. The second example would be, there's so many to choose from. There was a startup weekend that happened more than a couple of years ago, where it was targeted towards high school students. And so even now, a lot of people are freelancing, a lot of people are starting their own businesses. So there was this guy who was like, oh, why wouldn't we, look into maybe developing a movement where I want my generation, so he was, 16 years old or 18 years old at that time, like a young teenager at that time, was like, I feel like people in my generation are going to be entrepreneurs. So he created this concept of generation entrepreneur. And so now what they do is they go to high schools and they teach students what entrepreneurship looks like, how they can get people with corporate experience into schools earlier on. So that convergence of kind of that raw talent with the industry experience, that's what they do on a day-to-day basis. And now that's been going on for years and years. So that's like another thing. Maybe my last example here is Facebook. For example, they have been running hackathons since they started the company. So once every month, they would run a hackathon and tell their people to kind of drop everything and just work on something that's creative, something that is not in your day-to-day job. And so why they do this is, one, the cultural standpoint, so that social aspect, but secondly, what are those features that Facebook can deploy so that it will be an added benefit to their customers? So stories like the like button on Facebook, before you could only comment, so now with the like button, and now with all the emoticons that you have, that was all done through Facebook hackathons, and then they pitched that straight to Mark Zuckerberg, and he was like, yep, good to go, just deploy it straight away. Even like small things like the search bar, you know, where you can search for different functions, that was also a hackathon feature as well.
That's brilliant. So it's really like, you know, it's about bringing people together and harnessing that collective creativity. Because when that happens, there's magic that happens when you bring all these people together in a relaxed, fun environment, and they're having fun and they're passionate about what they do. And all of a sudden these great ideas pop out. So that's the strength of this, really.
Yeah, and just briefly, if I can link back to, on a personal level, the benefits, basically, because we spoke more like what the organization would get out of such a thing, right? But very much on a personal level, I've seen people, they join a hackathon, they're like, I don't even know if it's for me. They literally say, is this for me at the start, right? And then they join, they get through, and they get into the top 3 teams. And I've seen teams win, and then just the buzz that they feel when they win this thing, a sense of belonging. And so that sort of moment, I guess, when teams complete something and they're in it together, that's just a lasting benefit that would last for those people.
Oh yeah,
you know,
it's camaraderie, a sense of community, satisfaction, accomplishment. You know, you feel good about yourself when you go through this process and you actually come up with something that's amazing and you win a hackathon. Wow. And obviously you can win all sorts of different prizes.
Yeah, it depends, really.
It's up to the budget, really.
If we had to do like a top 3 or top 4 prizes, I guess it's cash usually. And what else have you seen as prizes?
Yeah, I loved one of the hackathons. It's called the EOS hackathon because they just had a initial coin offering, so they were raising money for their platform. They offered my team actually got offered 50 grand to build up what we were doing in the blockchain space, and I think it was like 100 grand for the winning prize. So there are really big ones, and they don't happen often. They happen once every in the blue moon, but I would say like a lot of the time, especially when we first started doing hackathons, they were like, 2 grand, 5 grand, 10 grand. There was always a 10 grand prize money pool. Some people could get a career out of them. So there were a lot of hackathons, especially in the US, that were happening, and some people just lived off going to hackathons, and you'll see that quite a bit. Pays for their travel, pays for their holidays, and that kind of thing. At the same time, a lot of hackathons are using their partners to give some in-kind donations. So whether that be charity organizations, co-working space, mentoring sessions, credits. AWS does that a lot. So if people are serious about creating their platform, a lot of them use cloud. So those kind of things as an added benefits is also really valuable as well. And also, a little trophy doesn't hurt.
Yeah, little trophies, medals, little show bags. Anyway.
Yep.
Is there like one Olympics that happens every year that it's the event, the hackathon you got to be part of, or it doesn't really work?
Great question.
Like
something that we're
Vegas or something. Like it's got to be one killer hackathon that everybody's trying to get to.
Maybe there's a gap in the market there.
There probably is a gap in the market, but at the same time, like it depends where you are in the world, right? Because this online hackathon thing is quite, like everyone coming together has been quite new for the past 3 months. So there hasn't been this annual thing that goes on every year. It's only been like 3 months. However, I would say from an Australian and New Zealand standpoint, GovHack is happening, and GovHack has been going on for the past, this is their 11th year this year. So it was their 10-year anniversary last year. It started out in Canberra, and it's all around using open government data. So it's government, so you get to know what they do. I personally have learned a lot when I organized GovHack, and so giving those ideas back to them and seeing how solutions have come out has been super cool there. So I would say for me, that one, I used to organize that, and that was like an awesome thing. Right now it's reinvigorating itself and going online, but it is still happening in August.
Amazing. Where have I been the last 10 years? I didn't hear about this thing. I would have joined in. And so guys, you both of you, are you helping people put on hackathons and events? Is that what you specialize in?
Well, so here we can help people put on events. I think what we really want to concentrate our time on is educating people on how to do things.
Gotcha.
So how to run a hackathon, how to run your first hackathon.
Yep,
We've
nice.
got a creative guide, how to convert your hackathon online. We've got a
Nice.
simple guide. And they, creative stands for a couple of things. Creative stands for a couple of, simple stands for a couple of things.
Okay.
And then if people also want to go to a hackathon and they are not sure about what the process is, what kind of tools or skills that they need to have, we've also got the hacker toolkit, so people can just get the toolkit, download the templates, watch the videos, get the examples, and hopefully they can be really productive, effective, and efficient when it comes to doing a hackathon.
Being a hackathon. Oh, that's
And
fantastic.
yeah, and I think right now what we're doing, and which is something that would love your people to get on top of, is we're developing these new things called flashcards, which I'll get Dave to talk about.
Yeah.
So this is like a new product and we're happy to launch it in this podcast.
Hey, look, I'm honored, I'm privileged. So Dave, tell us about these new flashcards.
Well, it's still in development, but we were playing with the concept of a tool basically that people can use to ideate when they're participating in or organizing hackathons. So we're going to drop a link to register for that as part of your podcast here, Darren.
Awesome.
And so people can find out more, and we'd love to hear what people think.
Fantastic. Well, I'm going to put all those links for you. I've got a whole stack of links for everybody out there that wants to learn more about hackathoning. So I'll put them in the show notes for you guys. But where do you think the hackathon world is going to start evolving now, as opposed to where it's been? Do you see a change, or what do you foresee for the future?
Well, I think in the short term, at least, everything's all online at the moment. I would think that as people start going back into their offices and start when things start opening up again, then you probably see more in-person hackathons come back. But I think that the online hackathon's here to stay. And what are your thoughts?
Yeah, if we look at about 10 years ago, it was very IT developer centric. Then 5 years ago, it was more like everyone just do everything. There were very general hackathons and it weren't very focused. It was just like, come to this hackathon, oh, and this hackathon, and this hackathon. So we're kind of like, putting darts into not really a target, whereas now a lot of hackathons are very specific to a topic. So it might be around healthcare. So there's Health Hack that's coming up. There's another one around humanitarian innovation, and that's all around how do we aid in the process of crisis when they happen, and also in its recovery. And that's happening in July as well. And obviously with government, so that's like more government related hackathons. So right now, Dave is definitely right. Everyone's converting to and transitioning to online hackathons. And when people come back, it's going to be a convergence of both. So it'll be a bit of online and then a bit of in-person, and that will kind of boost the experience so that there's an educational aspect as well as a social aspect. After that, and what's happening right now is that a lot of businesses will be running them as well. So a lot of more corporate focused hackathons, people running them within their own teams, within their own organizations. And so I think there'll be more of that hacker culture within the work environment.
Gotcha. And so obviously you can have hackathons within a corporation. So you're already part of that corporation, but you can go to a hackathon, join some other big public hackathon that is nothing to do with where you work. And do I have to pay them or do they pay me?
Usually as a participant, you shouldn't need to pay anything.
Okay.
There's no barrier to entry there, and maybe a good way to get your feet in the water, like I've found at least where I am, you might, like if you look on our website, you'll see quite a few hackathons going on all the time, which might suit you. So I think getting your feet in the water, basically getting your feet wet, just trying my public one's a good way. And then the next time your corporate one, let's say your group comes up with one, then you go, hey, I've been to one and I'll join and jump into that one too. Yeah. Oh,
fantastic, guys. Well, that sounds a good idea. Maybe I can win all sorts of great prizes. I'm going to check it out. Is there anything that you think we've missed about, the psychology and the methodology of hackathons that people might, get something out of, or you think we've covered, the ins and outs of what a hackathon is.
Um,
Anything you guys want to add?
We often talk about confidence, like people wondering, are they the right person to join?
Yeah.
And we found that people just don't have confidence, and we're trying to educate them that, hey, you can do it too. Just get involved, sign up and do one, and then you'll find your confidence come out. So that's one thing that I've seen recently.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Because again, it gives people a sense of camaraderie and a sense of accomplishment, and they build their confidence through executing and being part of such a great event. So, it's from a personal development point of view and professional development, it's a great event as well.
Yeah, and I don't come from an IT background and study IT engineering, design thinking, or entrepreneurship wasn't, at university. So honestly, anyone can participate. It's, there's so much room for collaboration there and expertise.
Okay, that sounds like a really cool little world. And I'm gonna it's like when you're buying a car. Say you want to buy a Mazda, all of a sudden you start seeing Mazdas all over the road. Now that I understand what a hackathon is, I'm going to be seeing hackathons everywhere, and now I know what it is. Whereas before I would have probably thought, whatever.
Yeah. And a random segue, but there's going to be hackathons out of this world too. Like NASA's got one coming up.
Oh, really? Whoa.
Small little world, but it's getting bigger.
Oh my God. Insane. All right. Well, you're going to have to keep me posted on what's going on. Well, guys, thank you so much. That was really a lot of fun. It was really great to have you both on the show, Ange and Dave. And Ange is in Hawaii, as we can see. She's half your luck.
Holiday.
The world of hackathoning is very lucrative, I think. But guys, if people want to get in touch with you, what's the best place for them to do that?
Oh, okay. For us, it's just going on our website, go on hackathonsinternational.com.
Yep.
You can follow us on, so if you go on our website, we feature quality hackathons. We go through all the organizers, understand what their key purpose is and why you should participate. On our Facebook, our Facebook group is where everyone, all the hackathon passionate enthusiasts, those tech geeks come together and talk about our stories and experience in an unfiltered way. And on Twitter, we showcase all the news that's happening around the world with hackathons. So it's all Hackathons International or Hack INTL. And personally, you can connect with us. Feel free to add us on LinkedIn. I'm on there on Angela B. Chan. Dave, you're the same, Dave Bell.
Yeah, you'll find me.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to go in join your Facebook group. So if I ask too many questions, just kick me off. But guys, really, really appreciate you coming on the show. And is there anything that you want any promotion or anything that you're running at the moment that you might want to leave some new hackathon enthusiasts with?
Obviously the e-learning, that's something that we're hoping people take advantage of. We've got a promo going. I think $50 we've got it going for at the moment. Just use the word, the code podcast. It's a great way if you're thinking of organizing one and you want to get some skills. That's a good way to do it. And I've talked about the flashcards, but Ange, do you want to tell people about that?
Yeah, so basically we've got to put a link in there. Just sign up to what we do using the link, and we'll keep you posted of when that launches.
Okay, awesome. So everybody out there you have it. We've exposed the world of the hackathon. And it's been an absolute pleasure to have you both here with me today on a Friday afternoon. So thanks so much for coming in. Really appreciate it. I hope you guys had as much fun as I did.
Had a ball, Darren. Thanks so much.
But thanks again, guys. And for everybody out there, check out all the links. Check out, what Ange and Dave have organized. I'm sure there's going to be lots of interesting, interesting events for you to get involved with. And as we mentioned, there's loads of benefits, even from a personal and a professional point of view. So I hope everybody has a fantastic weekend. We'll catch you next week for another episode of the podcast. And once again, Dave and Ange, thank you so much for joining. Really had a ball.
Thanks for having us.
Pleasure.
Thanks again.
So bye for now.